For your spirit among us. We thank you for your word that comes to us tonight. We ask that it would come with clarity, it would come with punch, and the signature of your spirit would be obvious in our midst tonight. In Jesus' name we have prayed. You may sit. Good evening. Can you welcome the person beside you? Welcome the person. If you are sitting behind Victoria, migrate to the front. Can you welcome the people beside you? Have you welcomed? I welcome you. I welcome to church. Alright, Numbers chapter 2. Numbers chapter 2 verse 1. Last week we were trying to look at the layout of the tabernacle, and we didn't do so much. The only thing I could say was to say that the children of Israel lived their lives angulated around the presence of God. So they lived their lives in such a way that the tabernacle was the focus, it was the focal point around which all of the activities were structured. So they lived in such a way that the presence of God in their midst was the most distinctive reality in their experience. It was the most important thing. And that's basically what we did last week. Now we're going to go further, and Numbers chapter 2 verse 1. Can we have that? We can't have it. I said if you are behind Victoria, do you know? Okay, you are on special duties. You can find the place there. If you are behind Victoria, move forward. You are smiling. You are still behind Victoria. see, the fact that you're sitting in different places, it doesn't give me an impression of a full hall. So it's not as if you are trying to encourage. Alright, so Numbers chapter 2 verse 1. The reason why I wanted it on the screen is because I don't want us to I don't want to use the King James so much. Because I'm going to have to be running a lot of commentaries that are not necessary. So I'm going to be reading from the do you guys have the HCSB? Do you have that? You do. Alright. If you don't, we could use the NIV, but I would prefer the HCSB. Alright, so the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. The Israelites are to camp under their respective banners beside the flags of their ancestral houses. They are to camp around the tent of meeting at a distance from it. So he says that the children of Israel are to camp around the tent of meeting, and they are meant to camp in a particular format, right? So there are 12 tribes of the sons of Israel, right? So there are 12 tribes of that nation that is called Israel. And the Lord said that while you are journeying from Egypt and you're journeying to the promised land, can you reduce my volume a bit? My own volume, just reduce it a bit. It's shouting in my ear. So I think this is better. All right. So while you're journeying from Egypt and you're journeying to the promised land, there's a way you're going to camp. You're not just going to leave anyhow. You guys are going to camp in particular manners. And the way you're going to camp is you're going to camp according to your tribe, but everybody is going to camp around the tent of meeting. So you see what I was saying last week, that the tent of meeting was the reference point. The tent of meeting is the tabernacle, right? It's called the tabernacle, it's called the tent of meeting. So the tabernacle was in the middle, right? And everybody was camped around it. And he said that they are meant to camp in certain ways based on their tribes. Anyway, from verse 3 down to verse 31, it tells you how they camped. Now, there's no need reading through all of that because it's not particularly going to help. So this is the time when I need that my diagram on the screen. You guys had 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So, well, let's buy time while they put it on the screen, because the alternative is to read the whole chapter. But even if we read the whole chapter, it won't give you a graphic enough picture. So these guys were to camp around the tent of meeting, but they were to camp in their tribes, right? That translation says in their ancestral houses. So Judah, the tribe of Judah, will camp in a particular way. The tribe of Reuben will camp in a particular way. Simeon will camp in a particular way. Dan, Asher, Naphtali, all of those 12 tribes of Israel. It's a question that I like to ask, and I ask it a lot of times, but I rarely find answers to it. And the question is for people to tell us the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. Who can try? If you don't know it, you need to be you need to receive special. Okay. That one is hard. It's Old Testament, Abi. Let's come to the New Testament. The 12 disciples of Jesus. Who can try? Nobody can try. One person can try. Who else can try? I'm not going to ask you to say it, I think. I heard someone say once, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Like that's how to start. So Matthew, Mark. Like, oh really? Mark was a disciple of Jesus. Oh wow. Even Luke, amazing. All right, so um, thank you very much, camera human being. We need our this thing now. You people like playing this church too much. That's the final conclusion. All right, so can you see? Can you see? Right? You can see. If you can't see, you can come forward. All right, so aha. So people are wise like this. So you can see the tabernacle in the middle, right? You can see the tabernacle in the middle. No, now, no. Don't, just leave it the way it was. You can take it back. Aha. The Lord is laying it on your heart to buy us an LED screen. You are hearing God. I mean, would have just been. What do you think? All right. So this is the tabernacle in the middle, right? This is the tabernacle in the middle. This is why a lot of people are very cautious with praises. After I told them that they are very wise, they now are trying to prove me wrong. So you can see that this is the tabernacle. This is the north, right? This is the east, this is the south, this is the west. And then you can see 3 tribes here, 3 tribes here, 3 tribes here, and 3 tribes here. So there are 12 tribes, right? Then you can see Judah, Issachar, Zebulun with their numbers. So there are 74,600 people in the tribe of Judah and all of that, right? You guys have these images, so. But then on the north, you can see Dan, Asher, Naphtali. To the west, you can see Benjamin, Manasseh, Ephraim. You can see to the south, Gad, Simeon, and Reuben. Now, you had the tribe of Levi, the Levites, right? You will notice that the Levites are not in this arrangement. And I think I've done the explanation to you before. That part of the reasons was because the Levites did not have any property in the land. So when they got into the promised land, they were supposed to divide the land to all of the tribes. But the Bible had said, the Lord had said, that the Levites would not have any land because He will be their portion. The Levites were the people that the priests were taken from, right? And those Levites were not going to have any property. They are not going to have any property. They would be the only property they will have is the Lord. So when you came to offer sacrifices in the temple, you are going to come with something. You are not going to come empty-handed. The animals, maybe when we get to the book of Leviticus, if we get to the book of Leviticus, you'll see that the animals that were brought to offer sacrifices in the temples for burnt offerings and all of that, except for the sin offering, I think even for the sin offering, for all of them, you are going to, if you brought a basin of, if you brought a basin of grain, corn, as a grain offering, what the priest will offer as the grain offering is not the whole basin of corn. Do you follow? It's not the whole basin of corn. There's going to be a portion that is going to be taken and sacrificed to the Lord as a representative of the whole that you had now brought. And that portion would be sacrificed on your behalf, but the rest of the portion was going to be given to the family of the priests. Right? The animals that were brought for sacrifice sake, those animals were not all burnt totally. I think except, it's been long since I looked at that, but I think except the sin offering. I think the sin offering was totally burnt. But all of the others were going to be, there were going to be specific portions that are taken out for the Lord, and the rest of them will be given to the priest. This was the way that the priests survived. They didn't have farmland, they didn't have cattle, they had nothing. The only thing that they had was the Lord. And it's of note, it's important, because at some point in your life, the only thing you should have should be God. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have other stuff. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have other stuff. It means that if the stuff that you have is important in the absence of God, you have nothing. Huh? You don't get what I'm saying. Jesus, you remember in John, in the early chapters of the book of John, when John came and John was baptizing and people were coming to him to hear his preaching, And then Jesus comes on the scene, and the Bible now says that the disciples of John began to complain that everybody has followed this new preacher. They have left our church. They don't come for me service again. They don't come for Sunday service. He has started ministry in Angwarukuba. He has packed all our young. You remember that story, right? When they came to John and said, all of our disciples are following this guy. And John says to them something. He says to them that actually the protocol is that Jesus must increase and he must decrease. And then he says something else. He says that a man can receive nothing except it is given to him from above. A man can receive nothing except it is given to him from above. This is the point. That if what you have was not given from above, it is nothing. If you have stuff, but you got the stuff from a place that is not above, that thing is nothing. If you received money, you received a job, you received a spouse, and it did not come from above, what you received was nothing. This is the point, that the Levites actually they had an experience where the only thing they had was God. They didn't have land, they didn't have cattle, they didn't have farms, they had nothing of the sort. The only thing they had was God. And I'm saying to you that if you have plenty, and you have God, your experience should not be different from if you had nothing and you had God. The man that has plenty and has God is not richer than the man that has nothing and has God. You see, Paul says that I know how to abase and how to abound. And he says the reason is because I have learned in every situation to be content. And I've told you a number of times that contentment is not a gift of the Spirit. Contentment is learned. Are you following me? Contentment is learned. If you do not learn contentment, you will not know contentment. And if you do not know contentment, you will never know peace. Because there's always going to be more than you can get. There's always going to be more. Think about it. Think about the times in your life where you thought that if you just get admission now, all your problems will be solved. Hey, God, just give me it. If you give me this admission, I swear I will. You remember those times in your life? When you got the admission, you now found out that getting admission is not the holy grail. You now entered into school. You now found out that it's actually easier to enter school than to leave. It's easier to enter into school than to leave the school. So you now started praying, oh God, let me just graduate. Let me just graduate. Once I graduate now, then you graduate. Unfortunately, you graduated without a boyfriend. You now entered into the world. You now found out that graduation is really not the thing. What you need now, for God to help your life, what you need now is a man. Peace. You now started trusting God for a man. Man now came. You now got married. You now said that this marriage thing is not the thing. No. What we need is children. Are you following me? It is part of the things that Satan does to ensure that your eye is always fixed on the future. You will never be able to live in the now. You have forgotten that today is the answer to yesterday's prayer. That you are actually surviving in a miracle. That your life now, this admission that you got, this school that you are in, that you are complaining, they want to kill us. You do not know that is a result of the prayer that God answered 4 years ago. That's why you are complaining now. If you do not learn it, you will not know it. And if you do not know it, you will not know peace. If you do not know contentment, you will not know peace. There will always be more than you can have. There will always be more that you can get. There will always be more that you can do. There will always be more that you can be. There will always be another certificate. Always. There will always be more kilograms that you can lose. Your face will never be the smoothest. You will always see somebody's face that is smoother than your own. Are you following me? If you allow these kinds of things to condition your life, Satan doesn't need to do any bad thing to ensure that you don't make sense in life. He just needs to give you acne. You just have acne for 2 months and you'll be depressed because of your face. Share is acne. What if acid burnt it? What would you do? I'm saying to you that the Levites did not have physical property, right? But they had God. And I'm saying that whether or not we have physical property, we must come to the place where our only possession is God. That's the point I'm making. That whether or not I have money, I know that in the depths of my heart, the only thing I count as a true possession is God. Because, like I've said to you again, the only thing that you have is that which cannot be taken away from you. That's the only thing that is your own. Anything someone can take away from you is not yours. I've told you. Tomorrow, NUC can stand up and say, we just got information that University of Jos has been delving in some irregularities. So we're going to cancel every certificate from 1992 to 2021. All of a sudden, you're not an undergraduate. What are you? Secondary school certificate. They've cancelled your certificate. All of a sudden. I know you're doing business, you're doing investments, you even have a savings account with GT Bank. If GT Bank stands up tomorrow and say that we are bankrupt, I hope you know that there's no plan for your money. If they file for bankruptcy, it has finished, that's all. Hello? You don't know? This is why some people still use Colo. Because they can't trust the banking systems. If your confidence is attached to that which can be taken from you, you are very, very poor. You are a poor man. There are some people that, Alright. There are some people that their self-esteem increases because of credit alert. When they walk into the supermarket, when there's money in their account, they walk in a certain way than when there's no money in their account. You are an embarrassment to the blood of Jesus. You see, what it means is that money is more valuable than the blood that was shed for you. You don't get what I'm saying? I'm saying that if something can affect your self-esteem in a way that the eternal sacrifice of Jesus does not, then that thing is more valuable than the sacrifice of Jesus. And if that's what it is, it actually means that you have despised the blood. You don't know what it is. I've said to you many times that, you see, for a long time, I was a very shy person, right? But right now in my life, I don't know what low self-esteem is. I don't know it. I just hear people say it. I don't know it. I don't. I'm not aware of what it is. Inferiority complex. I don't have it. And it's not because I went to one life coach that was telling me. No. It's the word of God. If you stay in God's word enough, you would actually see your true shape. Your true picture will be revealed. Your true picture will be revealed. You will know the things that you have. You will know the place where you are. You will know that which has been given to you. You will know that you actually have connections. Hello? When I was in school, about a year before I graduated, one of those days I was praying and I saw a vision and I knew that I was going to do house job in Ekiti State. I knew that I was going to do my house job in Ekiti State, and I didn't know anybody there and everything. That was just what the Lord said. And so after we graduated from school, we for some reason could not have our induction in time because our school was a faculty, then they had to change to a college, and so the council was saying that they were not going to induct us. So we waited for, I think, between 3 and almost 4 months before we were inducted. And then in that period, the teaching hospital in Ekiti State took house officers. So they employed people, and when they did, I was surprised. Like, God, this is what you said now. I did not know that. Okay, I knew that there were two institutions where you could do house job. I didn't know that there was another place. And then eventually they announced our induction. Our induction was on a Wednesday, I think. So they announced our induction. Our induction was supposed to be that Wednesday, and I was supposed to be preaching in Ibadan on Saturday. So we did the induction on Wednesday, and then Wednesday night I got home and I told my parents I'm traveling. And they said, "Where are you going to?" I said, "I'm going to go to Ekiti State and drop an what do you call it? Application letter and my CV. And then I'm going to go to Ibadan to preach, and then we'll just see how it goes from there." So I go to Ekiti State on Thursday. I get in Thursday night. So on Friday, I drop the letter, and I go to preach in Ibadan. And then the next week on Tuesday, they call me that I should come to their office. And I go to their office, and they give me an appointment letter. I didn't do interview. They actually said I should come for interview, but I went with jeans and slippers. That's not how to go for an interview, right? And I went there and I picked up the appointment letter. And I picked up the appointment letter, and they were like, "We need you to resume immediately." I'm like, "Me? Not possible. You need to give me 2 weeks first." Because I had just inducted. It was not the plan at all, right? It was later on that I found out that they actually just started taking house officers in this hospital. I was the first house officer. Huh? Listen to me. If God's word has gone before you, situations and circumstances will be framed to ensure that it comes to pass. I'm saying to you that if what you have is God alone, you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. The problem is that you want to chill with the big boys. That's the problem. You're not missing anything. If all you have is God alone. And the Levites were the perfect picture of this reality. And it's at some point, God is going to remove your security apparatus. God is going to take away everything that you depend on. God is going to shred you down to the basic minimum. Where the only thing you will have access to is air. To teach you this thing. To teach you that if you have me alone, you are fine. And if you learn this thing, then actually you are fine. You will be delivered from all sorts of pressure. All sorts of pressure. You know, now there's pressure in this our generation. It's a young person. Every stage of life where you are in, there's pressure. There's pressure. You can just wake up and go to Instagram and tension yourself. You know? Valentine's Day just passed. I'm sure that there were people who felt like I'm single on Valentine's Day, and it was an issue. It was an issue that you are single on Valentine's Day. What's the color of your stupidity? How is that a problem? Because you see these people that are celebrating that they're in a relationship, they will break up. Don't worry. It's not. Alright, they will marry and they will live happily ever after. But you know what I'm talking about. You will just hear tomorrow that they are not together. Those were the people that were your couple goals. They had put something on Instagram, and the pressure is immense. You self at some point you want to show that your relationship is working. So you go and sit down somewhere, and then people will snap picture, then you now do my view. The reason is so that people will not think that your own is not working. God must deliver you from the need to impress people. Yes. There are people that borrow money to impress people. And before you shake your head, you see, you are going to get married. We need to be sure that you will not do that thing. If the money you have can only feed 10 people, marry like that. I'll be very happy to join you. Wedding is not expensive. It's you that wants to trend. I know a couple that actually got married and they did their reception in a restaurant. Come with your money. If you like, if you want to celebrate with me, that's the place. If you come, you eat. And a lot of white people actually do that. Huh? Since we're importing the thing from there, let's import everything. But no, they'll say it's our culture. In our culture, in our culture, we must all wear lace. When did lace enter into Kaduna land? When the Kaduna people start wearing lace, that lace has entered into the culture. Huh? Then they are putting you under pressure. You have to. They even tell you that it's Hollandaise. That's you. Even from the name, you can see that it's not a cultural. It's from Holland. Or I mean, I don't know, but you can see that the name of your village is not inside. Pressure. They need to impress. If you are from Kaduna State, don't be. It's not your culture, Sha. I like Kaduna State. Small. Yes. The point I'm making is that there has to be a separation in your heart. You have to die to the need to impress people. You have to die to the need to make it look like you are doing fine. You know, this is the reason why a number of people want God to bless them. Say, God, give me money. Let them know. Let them know that this our thing is working. Let them know that this thing is working. Just give me, just not too much, just $3 million. Let's just show them that this thing is working. You'll be broke for a long time. Huh? So some of you, your family people have told you this Jesus thing that you're carrying in your head. What's the proof? What's the sign of? So your plan for breakthrough is so that you can show your family people that Jesus is working. Jesus is not under pressure. He's not. And it's better for you to also not be. Because you cannot beat him. The man who has God alone is not poorer than the man who has God and money. God doesn't need money to move his kingdom. Don't allow those people to deceive you. Say you need the anointing and you need money. It's not true. I've told you many times, Jesus was not rich. Jesus was a generally broke guy. And it's because of him that we are here. Are you following me? Are you here? When Jesus said that the harvest is full, but there are no laborers, Jesus does not say send money. He says pray. Pray ye the Lord of the harvest. That if God wants to harvest the people, what we need to do is supply prayer. It's not money. Huh? The Levites, all they had was God, and they lacked nothing. And some of you need to learn this protocol. You need to learn it. You need to learn to survive without money. You don't understand what I'm saying. You see, I pray that God will teach you these things. Huh? So that it will be an experience. It will be a life that you know. You know, you can be working, earning a salary, and God comes to you and tells you, this month, I want you to sow all of your salary as a seed. And then you sow it. No challenge. Next month, he now comes and says, hi, peace. Can you remember what we did last month? Let's do it again. You see, many people will not be able to obey. You know why? Because they've not learned that truly, man does not live by bread alone. They've not learned it. They've not learned it. And a lot of times I'm very understanding of people's limitations. Because you only can do as much as you know. What? You only can do as much as you know. I'm telling you. The Levites, all they had was God. Are you following me? Alright, so that's enough about that. So, the tabernacle was angulated towards the east. The tabernacle was angulated towards the east. And then you saw the families of these three families, Merari, Gershon, and Kohath. They are actually sons of Levi, right? So Levi had three sons. You had Merari, Gershon, and Kohath. And of course, they were going to be closer to the tabernacle than the other tribes. The reason was because they actually had what to do at the tabernacle. Right? When we look at the individual furniture, you're going to see what was going on. But these guys were responsible for the sacrifices that were going on. They were responsible for carrying the tent. They were responsible for cleaning the tent. They were responsible for all of those menial jobs that ensured that the tabernacle continued functioning. So you see, in front of the tabernacle, you had Moses and the priests, and then around the tabernacle, you had the other sons of Levi. Right? Because not all the sons of Levi were priests. The priests were taken from Levi. Not all of Levi were priests. That makes sense, right? So you're seeing these tribes, and then you're seeing this, and then you're seeing Moses in front. Now, how is this important? Turn to Numbers chapter 22. We began to look at this last week. I think I just made hints about that. Numbers chapter 22, and all right, verse 36. So you know the story of the Lord saying to Balaam to not go, right, with Balak, and Balaam disobeying, eventually going, and then you see his animal speaking to him, and he wanted to kill it, but eventually God says to him and says, go with them, but only do what I tell you to do, or only say what I tell you to say. Now, verse 36. And when Balak heard that Balaam was come, he went out to meet him unto a city of Moab, which is the border of Anon, which is in the utmost coast. And Balak said unto Balaam, did I not earnestly send unto thee to call thee? Wherefore camest thou not unto me? Am I not able indeed to promote thee to honor? And Balaam said unto Balak, lo, I am come unto you. Have I now any power at all to say anything? The word which God putteth in my mouth, that shall I speak. And Balaam went with Balak, and they came to Kirjath Huzoth. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and sent to Balaam and to the princes that were with him. Verse 41. And it came to pass on the morrow that Balak took Balaam, and brought him up into the high places of Baal, that thence he might see the utmost part of the people. Alright, so in the morning, Balak took Balaam and brought him to Bamoth Baal. From there he saw the outskirts of the people's camp. You would see that every time that Balaam was going to make an enchantment against the nation of Israel, he would go up to a high mountain. Right? He will go up to a high mountain so that he can see all of them. Don't forget that the children of Israel dwelt in that particular format. That format was not broken. And you've seen the way it looks, right? If you're looking at it from I don't know what it's called, but if you're looking at it from up directly, that's the way they were arranged, right? But Balaam is going to climb up to a mountain and look at the people so that he can make that enchantment and curse them. Do you follow? All right, next verse, or the next chapter, verse 1 of chapter 23. And Balaam said unto Balak, build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken, and Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And Balaam said unto Balak, stand by thy burnt offering, and I will go. Peradventure the Lord will come to meet me, and whatsoever he shows me I will tell thee. And he went unto a high place. And God met Balaam, and he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars, and I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram. And the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, return unto Balak, and thus shalt thou speak. And he returned unto him, and lo, he stood by his burnt sacrifice, he and all the princes of Moab. Verse 7. And he took up his parable and said, Balak, the king of Moab, has brought me from Aram out of the mountains of the east, saying, come curse me, Jacob, and defy Israel. How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? Or how shall I defy whom the Lord has not defied? For from the top of the rocks I see him. So you can see what I was talking about. That he will have to climb onto a mountain, right? To look at the people so that he can do his enchantment and then curse them, right? I see them from the top of the rocky cliffs, and I watch them from the hills. There is a people living alone. It does not consider itself among the nations. Next verse. Who has counted the dust of Jacob, or numbered the dust clouds of Israel? Let me die the death of the upright. Let the end of my life be like theirs. Now, this is definitely not a curse, right? They called you to curse somebody. You now say, I've seen this person, oh, let me die like him. This was what the Lord put in the mouth of Balaam. But don't forget that this statement is coming from a vantage point, right? Are you following me? This statement is coming from a vantage point. He's standing at a point and he's looking at people to make these statements. Verse 11. Let's just keep going. What have you done to me? Balak asked Balaam. I brought you to curse my enemies, but look, you have only blessed them. Next. He answered, shouldn't I say exactly what the Lord puts in my mouth? Verse 13. Then Balak said to him, please come with me to another place where you can see them. You will only see the outskirts of their camp. You won't see all of them. From there, put a curse on them for me. You can see this, right? Verse 14. So Balak took him to look out field on top of Pisgah. Pisgah is a mountain. And built 7 altars and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. So all of this happens again. Now go to verse 18. So Balaam stands on this mount and then he looks over the people. He doesn't see all of them. And then he pronounces his parable. Balaam pronounced his poem. Balak, get up and listen. Son of Zippor, pay attention to what I say. God is not a man who lies, or a son of man who changes his mind. Does he speak and not act, or promise and not fulfill? I have indeed received a command to bless. Since he has blessed, I cannot change it. He considers no disaster for Jacob. He sees no trouble for Israel. The Lord their God is with them, and there is rejoicing over the king among them. God brought them out of Egypt. He is like the horns of a wild ox for them. There is no magic curse against Jacob and no divination against Israel. It will now be said about Jacob and Israel, what great things God has done. Next verse. A people rise up like a lioness. They rouse themselves like a lion. They will not lie down until they devour the prey and drink the blood of the slain. Then Balak told Balaam, don't curse them and don't bless them. I know we brought you to curse, but it's looking like this thing is not working. Don't curse them again. Just leave them. Next verse. Balaam answered him, didn't I tell you, whatever the Lord says, I must do? Again, Balak said to Balaam, please come. I will take you to another place. Maybe it will be agreeable to God that you can put a curse on them for me there. Notice that there is something that is going on with these curses. It is tied to location. Are you seeing what's going on? That Balak is saying that maybe this curse is not working from here. Let's go to another place. Maybe the curse will work from here. Okay, this curse is not working from here. Let's go to another place and see whether the curse will work. So Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, which overlooks the wasteland. Balaam told Balak, build me 7 altars here and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me. So Balak did as Balaam said and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Next chapter, 24 verse 1. 24 and verse 1. Since Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not go to seek omens as on previous occasions, but turned toward the wilderness. When Balaam looked up and saw Israel encamped tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came on him. Now, in previous occasions, what we saw is that when he didn't see all of them, right? He just saw some of them. And then God will put something in his mouth to say, and then he would say it, and it will be a blessing, right? At this point, Balaam actually sees the nation of Israel, and he sees all of them encamped in the way that God had said they should be encamped. tribe by tribe. Right? Tribe by tribe. And at this point, the Spirit of the Lord comes on him. Next verse. And he proclaimed his poem, the oracle of Balaam, son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eye opened, the oracle of one who hears the sayings of God, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who falls into a trance with his eyes uncovered. How beautiful are your tents, Jacob, your dwellings, Israel. They stretch out like river valleys, like gardens beside the stream, like aloes the Lord has planted, like cedars beside the water. Water will flow from his buckets, and his seed will be by abundant water. His king will be greater than Agag, and his kingdom will be exalted. God brought him out of Egypt. He is like the horns of a wild ox for them. He will feed on enemy nations and gnaw their bones. He will strike them with his arrows. He crouches, he lies down like a lion or lioness. Who dares to rouse him? Those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. Then Balak became furious with Balaam, struck his hands together and said to him, I summoned you to put a curse on my enemies, but instead you have blessed them these 3 times. Now go to your home. I said I would reward you richly, but look, the Lord has denied you a reward. Just let's keep reading. Balaam answered Balak, didn't I previously tell the messengers you sent me? If Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go against the Lord's command to do anything good or bad of my own will. I will do whatever the Lord says. Now I am going back to my people, but first, let me warn you what people will do to your people in the future. You see, this one now was not, they didn't ask him. The Spirit of God had come upon him, and he began to speak more than was required. Then he proclaimed his poem, the oracle of Balaam, son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eyes are opened, the oracle of one who hears the sayings of God and has knowledge from the Most High, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who falls into a trance with his eyes uncovered. I see him, but not now. I perceive him, but not near. A star will come from Jacob, and a scepter will rise from Israel. He will smash the forehead of Moab and strike down all the Shethites. Edom will become a possession. Seir will become a possession of its enemies, but Israel will be triumphant. One who comes from Jacob will rule. He will destroy the city's survivors. Now, the reason this thing is not very nice in your ears because it's not from King James. If it was from King James, you would have seen how it's actually a poem, right? And it's a beauty to hear. So, read King James. I advertise my translation. Balaam now says to him that actually the things that I have seen, they have not finished. There is more that needs to be said. And what I'm going to say to you now is what these people that you have called me to curse is what they are going to do to your people in the future. And then he says, I behold a star. I see him, but not now. A scepter will rise up from Jacob and Israel. Who do you think he's talking about? Obviously, right? He's talking about Jesus. But this is the point. The point is, you need to see that this final prophecy was from the point when Balaam could look over the tribes of Israel as they were in their camp. This was when this one came out. There was something that Balaam saw that provoked the Spirit of, or that caused the Spirit of God to come upon him, that imbued him with these prophecies that we now hear. So Balaam begins to prophesy about Jesus, and he's talking about Jesus, and he's saying that Jesus is actually going to destroy your people, even though he was called to curse them. And this prophecy was taken from a particular place. That place was the place when he could see all of Israel encamped by tribe. Now, maybe I should have that other picture on the board now. If you look at the way they camped, from the place that Balaam was looking at them, before he made this final prophecy, from that place that he was looking at them, the way that they were camped was in a way that actually looked like a cross. Let me have it. It was in a way that looked like a cross. The people were camped in a way that if you look at them, oh, you can see it. why will God come and say, I want you people to camp in a particular way? And then he was giving them the place to stay by numbers. The reason is because this thing that these people were doing was symbolic. It was actually prophetic of what will actually deliver the people of God from curses. That it was the way that they were asked to live. Don't camp anyhow. Don't camp anyhow. Camp like this. And you see, at that time, the people had no idea. There was no idea in their minds. They did not know what exactly it was. They just knew that they had to obey. But when the enemy now comes and looks upon the people camping in the way that God has ordered them to camp, what he sees is a cross. And I am sure that even Balaam did not know what that cross meant. But he sees something, and all of a sudden the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him. And then he begins to prophesy. And his prophecy is not just about the people of Israel. His prophecy is now about Jesus. There is that which preserves the people of God from curses. Hello. There is that which preserves the people of God from curses. And it's really not about you. It's actually about this protocol. It's the cross. This cross was foreshadowed from thousands of years or hundreds of years before Jesus came on the scene. Are you following me? Are you following me? You know, I said to you last week that everything Balaam tried to do to curse the children of God did not work. It didn't work. He did everything. The thing did not work. Eventually, Balaam actually found a way to ensure that God will punish the children of Israel. You know that, right? So Balaam goes, and then eventually you would see later on in the book of Numbers, you see that the plague breaks out. And the reason for the plague is that the Jewish men take Moabite girls and begin to sleep with them, right? And that's not all. They now begin to worship their gods. They begin to worship their gods. That Israel actually now took on activities that disaligned them from this layout. And when that happened, what happened was, it was the anger of God. Let me show you. Numbers chapter 25 and verse 1. Numbers 25 verse 1. Yes, we're back to the King James. So it's very spiritual. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat, and bowed down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. There are two things that are going on here. And when we're looking at the Jesus epistles, I think I talked about it, right? That fornication is a means to be joined to something else. Right? Are you here? I think I said it, right? I think we talked about, yes, we did. I'm sure I did. That what happened here was that these people began to have intercourse with the daughters of Moab. But that was not all. The daughters of Moab now made them to bow down and begin to worship their God. Are you following me? And like I said, I don't know. You actually become like whatever you worship. Whatever you worship, you will resemble. If you worship money, if you worship mammon, you will take on that nature. You know that there are some people that were very nice people until they started going to a particular church. And in that church, the loudest thing that is taught is money. The people will take on a new shape. You see, because what you worship is not what you say you worship. we can tell what you worship. You may not even know that you are an idol worshiper. Hello? The people are quiet today. You see, you don't need to go and carve something and put it before you and say, I bow before your throne. You don't need to do that before you're an idol worshiper. Huh? If something else gets into your heart and takes the place of leadership, that thing is your God. That thing is your God. And you see, unfortunately, I can't do this kind of thing without talking about mammon, because that's the only thing that Jesus refers and gives equal place in the heart of a man with God. Jesus says that you cannot serve both God and mammon. You can't. You can't serve both God and mammon. That's to tell you it's the potency of mammon, because the point of mammon is actually the point of trust, is the point of dependence. It's why sometimes you used to actually like there's no trouble in the world because you had a credit alert. Mammon has that ability. It has the ability to actually take hold of that. Huh? So that if you don't have money now and you want to do something else, say you want to travel tomorrow, or you just don't have money, and then you are craving chicken, what are you going to do? All things being equal, you ask God. If you don't have sense, you put it on your WhatsApp status and say, who will buy me chicken? Then you put your account number, right? That's if you don't have sense. But if you have sense, you ask God. Of course, you know that we are many beggars in this world. Even many times, even that your birthday wish list is begging. You're just a beggar. Something that your parents cannot buy for you, you cannot buy for yourself. You now write a birthday wish list. Number 1, iPhone 13 Pro Max. Or then you wait. So okay, so it's your wish list. Why are you telling us? Huh? You know, there are some pastors that used to do this thing. As their birthday is approaching, they'll now start hinting the congregation that, see, I've been trusting the Lord for a new car, and I know that my God is faithful. Say Lexus GX 460. I really don't want. They'll just introduce it into the sermon. Then people behind would have heard this is what pastor wants. So then they will now buy it and bring to him, and then he will now say, I knew that God will do it. Which God? Huh? It's a similar story with all these people that used to pray on their WhatsApp status. Jesus, on your WhatsApp status. You think that that's where God used to read prayer? He used to go and he will open his WhatsApp and say, let's see what earth people have to say today. If you are praying, tell God. He doesn't need to come to Facebook or WhatsApp status. It's because you want people to see it. That's why you are putting it there. Have you not even felt sometimes you are praying, and then maybe if you have a roommate, you are praying and then there's a sense of discomfort that the person is listening to you? Have you felt like that? You are healthy. It's Pharisees that want people to be hearing what they are saying. Huh? That's part of the reasons why we do it in tongues. Don't know what I'm saying. You don't even know if I'm saying that you should not. On a normal day, if you're a normal human being, you are craving chicken, you don't have money, you ask God. Abi? If you have money and you are craving chicken, what will you do? You go and buy the chicken. That's the point. That's the point. That when Mammon is in charge, he takes away the place of God. So all of a sudden, you don't need to ask God again whether you should travel. Because you can travel. I told you last week that Job sponsored his rebellion. The reason why Jonah could sponsor his rebellion was because he had money. God says, go here. He says, I will not go. Then he carried his money and said, I'm going to Tashish. And he went to go and pay. May you not have enough money to sponsor your rebellion. May you not have it. The kind of money that you will use to disobey God, may you never have it. And I know that some of you are even thinking that, oh no, why are you talking like this? Must you be? I'm not trying to say that poverty is, I'm not trying to say that poverty is the gold standard for spirituality. I'm trying to say that if you make God choose between your spiritual health and your financial health, he will choose your spiritual health. Hello? You will apply all the laws that you have heard. You will sow seed, you will sow tithe, you will give offering, you will sow prophet's offering. In that day, your prophet will not be your prophet. I'm telling you. We will collect the money, we will even bless you. You see, because I've told you many times that God is the person that is behind impartation, release of power. It's God that is behind it. It means that if I lay hands on you and God doesn't want to give you anything, nothing will happen. You may follow, but nothing will happen. Hello. Mammon. The problem is dependence. The problem is trust. If God knows that you trust him, prosperity is a small thing. What's inside money? God himself was the person that said in Romans chapter 8 that if he has given you his son, how much more will he not with his son freely give you all things? For God to give you his son and withhold money from you means that he values money more than his son. Hello? But he doesn't, of course. Of course he doesn't. It means if there's a reason why prosperity is not flowing, it's not God's fault. No, God is not the problem. God is not the problem. It means that the problem is here. Because if God loves you, God will not give you what will kill you. No matter how much you shout and cry and pretend as if it's for kingdom advance, we know that actually you will do something for the kingdom, but it's your life that you're really, really thinking of. God will not give you that which will kill you because he loves you. It's actually because he loves you that he will not give you that thing. It's one of the ways to be a father. So that if you're a father and your 2-year-old son or your one-year-old son is very interested in a knife, he's very interested, he's fascinated. He doesn't know what it does, but he just wants to play with it. And then he takes it and he takes the blunt edge and he puts it on his body and he doesn't do anything. Then he turns it around. Then they are saying collectively, you say no, he will cry. No, that's how children are. Just leave them. He will learn what? I know when we talk like this, some people used to now make it look as if we are poverty preachers. As if there's any such thing. I'm talking about the fact that if your heart is sold to God, money is not a problem. But you see, if your heart is not sold to God, he will not give you money. I'm sorry. He won't. He won't. But you see, you can enter into a place where the concentration of the messages that you hear is not even just about money, it's about mammon. All of a sudden, the person will begin to behave like mammon. The person will be unstable. The person is the kind of person that will borrow money from you and never pay back, even when they have the money to pay back. The person just becomes very shady. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm saying that people become like what they worship. People become like what they worship. Are you following me? People become like what they worship. And what you worship is the loudest thing in your heart. You're the one that knows. It's you that knows. You're the one that knows. What some people worship is social media status. That's what they worship. They come to church. They sing in choir. They give offering. They pay tithe. But you see, if something happens and for some reason they couldn't do makeup on Sunday morning, they won't come to church because they have a reputation, I can't be caught on fresh. That's what they worship. It's really not about God. I mean, God is a convenient, but it's really not about God. Deep in their heart, it's not about God. They are idols that have been built. They are idols that have been kept in places where even God does not have access to. I told you the other day, and some of you are laughing. If God comes to you and says to you, Joy, for the next 6 years, don't wear makeup, what will be your response? Well, you see, because like I said, you have calculated that your wedding day is inside the next 6 years. So you are wondering exactly, did I hear correctly? Did I hear wrong? Your reluctance to obey immediately is a sign that that makeup has become an idol. Has become an idol. Huh? You just finished school, you're a doctor now. Go and start work. As you are about to start, I should not say it. as you are about to start, God just says, I want 11 months. You're like, what? Of course, I've given you my life. You said, no. I want your salary for 11 months. You're like, now I will give tithe. I will give tithe. God says, no. I want your salary for 11 months. You see, you know that when you start working as a doctor, people will now start thinking you have money. You know that that's just how it is. All of a sudden, people you don't know start calling you auntie. You don't remember me. You don't remember me. When you were small, when your left leg, I was the one. I gave you my left shoe. There will be all of that. Even your family, they are no longer responsible for you, right? To a large extent. They are no longer responsible for you. Then God now says, give me 11 months. You know the way your heart will cut? Is one of the signs that Mammon is working there. I've shared the story with you. When I was doing NYSC, I was working in a place. That time, salary was, I think it was 18.5 or 19.5. 19.8. That's how much NYSC were paying. You see, I don't even know how much it was because that thing was not. My Alawi never spent a night in my account. Never. Like there was no time that the allowance got into the account, then by the next day it was still there. Never. Not once. Well, you see, that's not the problem. The problem was now I was now working somewhere and they were supposed to be paying me 90k every month. The guy paid me for the first month. The second month, he paid me half. He didn't pay me again. From the third month till I passed out, he didn't pay me again. And at the time I wanted to complain, God said, don't say, shh, keep quiet. Don't say a word. Don't say a word. You see? So, I didn't say a word. I was working without pay. And I knew that, because his excuse every time was that there was no money. But I was the only doctor there. And I knew the money that was coming in, right? But I wasn't paid. God says, don't say anything. And I didn't say anything. And I wasn't paid throughout. When I'm about to pass out, God says, go and talk to the man. So I go and talk to the man. How much salary am I being owed now? Let's say 8 months, right? 8 months. So I go and talk to the man. And then the man says, he's not aware. He's not aware that he didn't know that why didn't I come to meet him? Like, he's not aware. He's not aware that I should give him my account number. I know what you are thinking is the end of the story. It's still not the end. So he now sends me 100k. No, now 90,000 times 8. How is that 100,000 naira? So he sends me 100k and as if he has done something. And then God says, be going. You see, there was never a point. Service year, I spent the most money of my life. Yes, the most money of my life. I was facilitating one funny relationship in another state. And I was driving a Benz at the time. Yes, I was driving a Benz. Huh? And it's that type of Benz that used to consume fuel. I was doing this thing. At that time when I was traveling to preach, I was driving. I didn't used to take public transport at all. I was always so I spent a lot of money, and I had no idea where it was coming from. And people did not know me like now. I did not have church. I did not have ministry name. I did nothing. There was nothing there. I'm saying to you that at that time, even though God said ignore it, God took care of me. If God comes to you now and says 7 years, and you're like, what? Be single for 7 years. I'm just saying that there are many idols that we do not know of. There are many idols. Jesus, my biological clock. Do you know how old Sarah was when she gave birth? What is a biological clock? What is that? Just in case you think it happened once. Do you know how old Elizabeth was when she gave birth? Huh? But no, people have. Me, as a lady now, I can never marry a guy that I'm older than. Because if you marry a guy that you're older than, you get old, you start looking old before him, right? That's you people's theory. Until God says that your husband is 4 years younger than you. You see, the way you are rejecting it, is a sign. It's a sign. It's a sign. There are idols that we do not know that we worship. Unconsciously, we are fixing our eyes on things. You may say it's my criteria, or it's my spec, or it's my standard. If the girl doesn't look figure 8, no. You know, now you're marrying somebody, you have to be friends with the person, but you have to be attracted to them. Physically, you have to be. How can you marry somebody you are not attracted to? Hello, sir. Attraction is not one of the things in the Bible. Go through the Bible and show me where physical attraction was one of the things they used to say marry somebody. I've told you people before. You see, even that thing that they say that you have to marry your best friend, or what nonsense it is. You have many best friends that you cannot marry. You marry them, your destiny will crash. When you marry the person, befriend the person. Flora. No, me, I like somebody. If before he has to be able to recite poems. I like poetry. I like. You see, generically, all of us believe that we worship God. But if we start examining parts of our life, systems, mindsets that are entrenched in our mind, you will see that there are many more idols than you are aware of. And some of those idols have come because of good advice. Are you following me? You see, before God, idolatry is fornication. It's adultery. Idolatry is impurity. You are not pure. And we know that you're not sleeping with anybody. But you see, because of that in your mind, when God looks at you, you are not pure. Are you following me? See, this is the point, and I've made it a couple of times, that you need to be the kind of person that God can command. It doesn't need to make sense to you. God can command you, say, Flora, stand up. Marry that boy. And God doesn't need to explain it. People have made, especially with these issues of marriage, people have made a doctrine out of failures. People have made a doctrine out of failures. So they say the reason why this marriage crashed is because they were not friends. It's a lie. It's not true. It's not true. Marriages crash for several reasons. But one of the major reasons is there was no commitment. Huh? Because the fact that you graduated from school is proof that you don't only do the things that you like. Yes, if you graduated from school, it's a sign that you can do things without liking them. Because unless you are not like us, normal people, you didn't really enjoy school. How many of you like reading? Not. I mean the thing that they are teaching you at the time. You actually enjoy reading it. You know, it's even possible after you have passed the class, you now go and carry the textbook and say, "Oh God, this thing is so easy." This thing that it happens to me a lot. After I've passed the class, I just fall in love.